We all know how good Dak Prescott is on the field, but how many can say they know him off the field? In this video, we will discuss some of the things about Dak Prescott that will blow your mind. Dr. Dak. Dak Prescott had and still has tremendous academic ambitions. Most players get into the NFL and completely forget about their academics, mainly because after they are drafted, they become instant millionaires. However, Dak is one of the exceptions. While at Mississippi State, he picked up his bachelor's and his master's degree. His bachelor's was in educational psychology, and his master's was in workforce leadership. Shortly after being drafted by the Cowboys, Prescott briefly talked about returning to Starkville and receiving his PhD in psychology. This feat would immediately put him in a rare category of NFL players who earned the title Doctor. Charlie Johnson, Frank Ryan, and John Urschel are just a few of the legends he will join. Loves to fish. Dak is a huge fishing enthusiast. I don't know if any of you follow him on social media, but that will undoubtedly tell you how much the man enjoys fishing. He constantly posts fishing trips in the off-season and catches some monster ones along the way. This isn't entirely surprising, considering that he is a Louisiana native. He is so dedicated to fishing that he missed out on an opportunity for a TV appearance. You heard that correctly. He had a legitimate chance to earn millions and pick up another endorsement for himself. Still, he chose to spend his time sitting on his boat fishing, though he also spent some time with his grandmother during the fishing trip, which probably swayed him to skip out on the appearance even more. Models his game after Tebow. Dak Prescott shockingly revealed the reasoning behind him wearing the number 15 in college. Believe me, the answer is not what you are expecting. Dak has repeatedly been asked why he decided to wear the number 15 and why he wanted it bad enough to request the number in college. His response was that it was because of Tebow. He said, "I asked for number 15 when I came to Mississippi State because of Tebow. Our games are kind of similar, but I'm a different player. I have my own type of game, but I want to mimic him in a way." The similarities in their games are evident on the field in some regards. Although Tebow was a phenomenal player for the Florida Gators, he had difficulty translating to the NFL. Tebow had a handful of stellar moments during his time with the Broncos, such as when he beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in a playoff game. They each like to play a little more on the physical side. They use their athleticism and mobility to consistently create plays down the field, a growing trend for quarterbacks these days. He thinks his name is Girly. The next thing about Dak that will blow your mind is his real name. Dak Prescott's full name is actually Rain Dakota Prescott. The name Dak is derived from a nickname he picked based on his middle name. Growing up, he began to resent the name Rain for several reasons. Some kids bullied him for saying it sounded girly. Additionally, his friends couldn't pronounce it correctly, causing him to repeatedly correct them. Much of his family started to call him Dak, which he has consistently stuck with since his early years. Don't worry about that past trauma regarding his name though. Dak has since joked about all those memories in the past. He has said he's over the whole name issue at this stage in his life, and even joked about dropping the nickname and using his birth name of Rain full time now that he's an NFL superstar. Record breaker. Dak Prescott made Dallas Cowboys franchise history in just his rookie season. Dallas selected him with the 135th overall pick in the NFL draft. He watched as multiple franchises opted to select other quarterbacks before him. Finally, his phone rang. From that point forward, he wanted to make sure that every team that passed on him paid the price for it. Dak started to work extremely hard, and before you know it, he was the starting quarterback for the Cowboys in his rookie season, helping lead them to a solid 13-3 regular season record. Now, it is worth noting that not every rookie quarterback can step into the NFL straight away and lead their team to one of the best records in the league. But because of this, Dak helped them secure a postseason spot. In that playoff game, he made history by becoming the first Cowboy rookie quarterback to ever start in the playoffs. This record gets even more impressive when you consider the legendary history behind the Dallas Cowboys franchise. They couldn't accomplish this same feat, and it certainly helps to put it all into perspective of how impressive he really is. Native American roots. Dak Prescott always makes sure to honor his grandfather Glendale. Glendale was heavily involved with the Choctaw Apache tribe of Ebarb in Louisiana all these years. He believes in keeping these roots in his life. If you look on his throwing shoulder, you will see a tattoo that reads Dreamcatcher. This is a prevalent Native American object. Along with that symbol, you can also see images of feathers, smoke, wind, and multiple turtles. Tattoos like this don't come around too often. However, Dak chooses to honor the people in his family in any way he can, like when he points in the sky after every touchdown in remembrance of his late mother. He nearly went to LSU. This fact revolves around one scholarship that he almost had. Now, we briefly talked about how Dak grew up in Louisiana. When competing at both the middle and high school levels, he wasn't the most sought-after prospect in the world. High schools were in love with him, but not so much when it came to colleges. However, the head coach of Mississippi State at the time, Dan Mullen, fell in love with him and recruited Dak early on. He committed to the Bulldogs before his senior year at Houghton High School. Prescott then unleashed all his talents onto his opponents that senior year, totaling 3,500 total yards and a whopping 56 touchdowns that season. LSU head coach Les Miles became intrigued by Dak. Because of his success, LSU made a late push at the signal caller to try to get him to decommit and join LSU. His family members at the time thought that he would do just that because, after all, he literally grew up in the area and would fit in perfectly. Unfortunately, they never offered a scholarship because Dak refused to decommit from Mississippi State. He remained loyal to them, and because of it, he is where he is today. Named after a cartoon. Some reports state that Dak is actually named after a cartoon character. Well, his middle name, not his legal name of Rain. The correlation comes between himself and Dakota Dude, a cartoon character on Wild West Cowboys of Moo Mesa. Surprisingly, Dak Prescott inherited the same traits as that cartoon character. In the show, Dakota is a mighty bull. Compare that to Dak, and you'll see the connections. Dak has been described by teammates and coaches as strong as a bull, and has consistently worked hard to get to this point in his life. Lifelong fan. Despite being from Louisiana, Dak Prescott grew up a Dallas Cowboys fan, not a New Orleans Saints fan. This news broke around the time the Cowboys considered drafting him. When the media caught wind of this information, they began asking him questions about the subject. He said, "I actually was a Cowboys fan growing up, but I mean, now going in, having this interview, it's about just getting my foot in the door." He was excited about the opportunity, but focused on making the team first before harping on his fan favorite franchise. Dak initially met the Cowboys at the Senior Bowl. They got to work with him firsthand, which probably led them to draft him in the 4th round a few months later. He was basically a running back. In college, Dak Prescott was a consistent runner. We all know he is one of the more mobile quarterbacks in the NFL, frequently getting outside the pocket and utilizing designed quarterback runs. But for the Bulldogs, he ran nearly every play. In 4 years at Mississippi State, Dak would carry the ball 536 times, rushing for approximately 2,521 yards on the ground, scoring a whopping 41 rushing touchdowns during that same span. If you were to read these stats without knowing who the player is, some would probably just guess a bruising back like Derrick Henry or something of that nature. Yet it was Dak Prescott who was running all over the place in college. Since he broke his ankle in 2020, we haven't seen much of this part of his game with the Cowboys.